Welcome back to the Table Rush Talk Show, where we dive deep into the world of entrepreneurship, marketing, and personal growth. I'm your host, Mischa Zvagansoff, and today I sat down with Jay Lee, a high-ticket sales expert who has helped multiple companies scale from startup to million-dollar months. Jay shares his unique background from his beginnings as a pastor to his unexpected transition into sales, where he discovered a talent for closing high ticket deals. Jay's signature method transforms standard service offerings into lucrative, high value packages, redefining what clients are willing to invest in growth and transformation. Jay, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Mischa.
Indeed, Jay, I'm so excited to have you on the show. We have both guest spoken or guest taught into Payman, Payman Lorenzo's five day podcast leads challenge, I think is what we call it.
It's a mouthful, eh?
Yeah, it sure is. It sure is. And I was struck both times I saw you on there about what you teach, how you help people. The content I was seeing was you teaching people how to basically take offers that were underpriced and create these really juicy, high ticket offers that were priced accordingly. Is that a good way to say it? Or
That's a great. You said it better than I could. So well done. I'm
yeah,
gonna steal it off of you if you're okay with that.
yeah, please do. Um, and so I kind of wanted to dive in on that. Let's just take a few minutes and maybe you can give us, 2 or 3 minutes on what you do and speak to that quick.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, former introvert, former banker, former pastor, preacher, also a musician. I was a worship director, worship leader. So I continue to serve in my church to this day, and I volunteer. Really had a hard time in 10 years of pastoral ministry financially. Obviously, I did not do it for the money. I did it to serve, humankind and to make this world a better place. Had no intentions of leaving the pastorate. God had different plans and pivoted me into the high ticket sales space. I have no idea what that was and what all the different verbiage and vernacular was. And so I was thrown on the deep end, did not know how to swim, had basically zero sales training, and just kind of try to figure out how do you, communicate this offer and how do you sell these offers that coaches are trying to sell. Didn't even understand how people could even sell, $1,500, $5,000, $10,000, offers. And the next thing you know, within like 10, 12 days, I feel like God gave me a download of like, hey, what you're selling is worth more. It's valued more. This $1,500 deal that you're selling should be valued at 50,000. And then next thing you know, I'm saying it to the owner, the founder. He's like, you're crazy. You've been here 10 days and you're a pastor. You don't know anything that I've been doing for the last 5, 6+ years. And I'm like, you're absolutely right. I have no clue what I'm talking about. But he just threw a couple of paid ads onto my calendar, said, slap together a slide deck and try to pitch it. And if it fails, I'll, say, I told you so. And we'll just go on from there. And then I got him a call with 3 different guys from the UK. And I offer this 50K offer, which I put together a slide deck with case studies. And then I one call closed it, but didn't have a pay link because I wasn't expecting to close it. And I didn't know how to take the payment because it wouldn't work on a credit card. 50K is a lot of money. So I had to get the founder's wire transfer information through Slack. And he was like, are you robbing my bank right now? I'm like, just be quiet. Just give me your SWIFT number, your transit number, your, all your banking information. And he thought I was robbing him. And then next thing you know, 50K comes through the Slack channel. Boom, shakalaka was whenever you get a sale. And all the other sales, colleagues on the Slack channel were like, who the heck is closing a 50K offer? Because we don't even have anything like that, which means higher commissions. And so from there, I helped sell 1 to 3 of those a month on top of the coaching offer, which is about 10K, closing multi 6 figures a month. That company scaled into about 10 to 16 million in 29 months.
Wow. God, I'm speechless, for the moment. So bear
Okay.
with me.
That was the intro. That was the intro.
Yeah. Wow. So I guess my first question is, what was the offer before substantively, I guess is what I'm saying,
Yeah.
substantively, and what was it after? And uh, more specifically, are you allowed to say who it was and what you were selling, or what type of coaching? Or
Probably not
okay,
who, but I can tell you the before and after.
yeah,
And I've actually scaled a lot of companies and a lot of businesses. And, one that I got from 100K a month to $1 million a month would not give me a video testimonial because they're so big. They didn't want to look like I gave them, the boost and
mm,
10xing their business. And it's kind of weird that way sometimes, right? I'm just like, okay, I that was a huge help. And, I closed 350K a month for 3 months. So that's like $1 million in 12 weeks. And I only worked 3 to 4 hours and then got them to $1 million months. They've never reached that. Anyway, so the before and after. So the before was basically business growth consulting. And they had one-to-many group coaching. I think they had multiple calls where they had like organic mastery. They had some paid ad stuff. They had VSL funnels, video sales letter funnels, and they had business growth consulting, like group calls. So there was like 4 to maybe 5 calls. So the guy was doing quite well. I think he was doing 50K months at the time. And then he got to over $1 million as well months. So the after was going from a business coaching, consulting, group coaching, one to many. I think at the time it was like $1,500. And in the Stripe account and the Chart Mogul account, there was 500, there was 300, there was 2,000. Like it was whatever you could get, at the time, because it's like, you hunt what you can kill and you just take whatever you can get, right? So I thought, man, that's really low. And I was getting on the calls and I was just like, the value that you're giving and the amount of support that you're giving should be worth at least 10, 15K for the starter program. And then the middle was like, 25, 30K. And then the top tier, which is done for you video sales letter funnel build from A to Z, and then a paid media buyer to help grow and scale by generating leads on demand to fill their calendars. And if you look at today, that is the offer that a lot of people who are doing $1 to $3 million a month are doing today. I did that 6 years ago.
yeah, a little ahead of the curve there.
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah. So we were chatting before before I hit record, obviously, and we were talking a little bit about how you have all these great stories of helping people go from X to X, from 100,000 a month to, whatever, 5xing that, or going, 10xing their revenue over a year, and like countless stories. But that also, you for a while were brought in as like a strategic closer, like a company would hire you and you would be their closer, and I suppose train up their teams. You didn't really say that, but I'm assuming there was some
Mhm.
of that going on. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, the company that, this Facebook group award that did $1 million in 12 months and then 3 million in 24 months. So I was their only closer and helped double their price from 4,800 to 9,600. And they were like, bro, we can't even close 4,800. And next thing you know, I doubled their price by doing an offer stack, a couple of bonuses with, no extra time. They already had some resources and software that they had purchased, but they were not making any money off of. So I take kind of your existing resources and maximize and arrange them in a way that's a Godfather irresistible offer. And the next thing you know, I was doing one call closes with PIFs, paid in fulls, 9,600. So they grew pretty quickly. Sorry, I didn't know if I caught your question.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's great. The question is you were answering it. Uh, was you were brought in as a strategic closer. So somebody goes, "Oh my gosh, we've got your glass method here, which we'll dive into, but you're helping
Yeah, yeah.
people revamp their offers, put appropriate value to
Yes.
their offer, and maybe create this Godfather offer, which I just
Yes.
heard you reference." And then they bring you in, you help them with that, and then you're literally the closer for a while for that company. So literally generating the sales for for these companies by being the closer, and you've done that a bunch of times. Yes.
Yes, exactly. I mean, there's a reason why you've done over 700 podcasts. You're able to ask pointed questions. I mean, one guy who, I said went to like 100K months to $1 million months, their show up rate was 30% on their paid ads and their organic calls. And then I was like, I just came off a different offer and my show up rate's about 94%. And they're like, what? And there's a team of like 50 people. They have a town hall meeting and stuff like that. And I caught his attention. And he's like, how the heck do you go from 30 to 94%? I said, I just follow this, show up framework or whatever. It's basically what I've been doing for, hundreds and thousands of calls. And then we implemented it and he went to 94% almost within the next week. So think about that, 3 times more leads or people showing up for calls that are qualified or somewhat qualified. They had a 2-step process where there was a triage call. They did a 15-minute discovery call to see if it was the right fit. And then from there, they would ask questions on time, budget, and fit, and then would tee it up to the closer. And that was a strategy/sales call. So the show up rate was very, very high. It went from, 30 to 90, 94%. And then we were able to close, anywhere from 30 to 50% or more of that, if that makes sense. So you can see how that it's not even increasing your close rate. It's just tripling the show up rate.
Yeah. 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 And then what what struck me in our pre-conversation as well is how you have grown past the point of, or I don't know if grown past the point of this but a company says, hey, yeah, be our closer for a while, help us implement this and close these deals for us, Jay, right? Like be a hand in this revenue. And
Yeah.
if I may say this, or you can speak to this, you were getting a percentage of closed deals and things like that, right? You've done some arrangements like that. Maybe you could speak to that a little bit and tell people how you were doing that, because you've grown past that. Now you're like, I'm too darn busy. But for a while, this is literally what I was doing.
Yeah, you're right. So I would come into the different coaching programs and they would hire me as a high ticket closer. Interesting thing is I've never ever gone through an interview. I think when you get quite, well known, and I was the best kept secret in some ways, still am probably to some degree because not many people really know me. But people would hear about me. Even Eli Wild would be like, how did you get like 81% close rates and 96.45, percent cash collected rates on consecutive months? So I got his attention, went on his podcast. So what I would do, like you said, is get into these offers. I would look at it and I'm like, we can make this a lot better. And if the coaches and the founders were humble and open enough, and it's not like I know more than you or I'm better than you. It's just like, I think we can do this better. I think we can say this better. And I just had a way of just being able to say what I had. Someone the other day said, and it was their offer. They said, you said what's better than in my mind. And you just sold me on my own product or offer or coaching or software, all the above, better than I can do it. And I'm the founder. So I think it's a gift. I don't know. I don't know. Just God has given me the gift to be able to communicate offers quite well. And then so that offer is created, the value is stacked and the price goes up because now people see the justification and the reasoning behind either the ROI or the transformation or the results. And then as a high ticket closer, the industry standard has typically been 10% of cash collected. I had people offering me, what was it? 40% on cash collected. So, and this was a guy that was doing 500K cash collected a month in his program. But I decided to help these guys who were stuck at 10 to 15K. So I could have made a lot of money, but I chose to go with guys based on my values and not chasing after money, if that makes sense.
It absolutely does. I love that. And what you're pointing to in the background there is a little blurred out, so it's hard for
Okay,
us
yeah.
to see. Yeah, yeah. So
Bring it here. So it's a Facebook $1 million group award by clients and community. $1 million group award by clients and community.
Okay. Love it. Fantastic. And so they're I don't want to put words in your mouth. They're church group or
They're a Christian coaching company. So they help kind of like Christian coaches, especially a lot of people from the John Maxwell certification to monetize their business.
Yeah, fantastic. And I love this. So let's think about the solopreneur for a little bit. Let's put it into terms that the solopreneur can understand
Yeah.
who perhaps somebody like myself who's maybe a few years behind me, but they're going, okay, I've got to have an offer and an offer stack and well, wait a minute, a funnel, maybe we can dumb it down for them a little bit, right? So
Mhm.
you would help uh, speak to terms of that, and there's not necessarily a question in there, but it's more of the process, right? So
Uh,
yeah, go ahead.
so are you asking me the process of building these offers and increasing the value and the price? Is that what you're asking, or something
Yeah,
else?
yeah, correct. Or even the process of, so I think we're assuming that everybody listening knows that you're going, hey, we've got a landing page or a funnel built out, right? We've got a lead magnet that's
I
bringing
see.
people
I
in,
see. I see. I
right?
see.
Right? Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
So I started out with nothing because I had no cash. I had no resources. And this is the best way to start as a solopreneur because you have nothing. I had nothing. So I didn't have a CRM. I didn't have a landing page. I just slapped together a Facebook group. Um, and even, the guys who helped me, Corey and Tuan, who are these guys, great guys, kingdompreneurs. They said, bro, your Facebook profile is like, are you trying to build a hobby or are you trying to build a business? They kept on saying that to me. I'm like, I want a business. And they're like, but you got all these worship videos and you got all these baby videos. You're not going to make money from that. So you got to align your Facebook to make it business friendly and congruent to your ideal client avatar. I'm like, what are all those things? And what's a Facebook group? I had no clue. So with their help, shout out to Corey and Tuan from Kingdom Coach University. Give credit where credit is due. And Akbar Sheikh, this is 100K in 100 days, a
Yeah.
six-figure award. I don't know if you can see that.
There we
So
go.
he was helping me huge with organic and also mindset mastery, mentor of mine as well. And I closed for him too. I closed for a lot of these guys and ended up, following their blueprints, if you will, and then combining all the things I've been learning from health coaches, mindset coaches, kingdompreneur coaches. And so I closed for a number of people. So I took a Facebook group going back to solopreneur and really, started with maybe 80 to 100 people. And then from there, I realigned my Facebook profile to basically delete or archive all of the stuff that was incongruent to my business. And this is an encouragement for all of you who have imposter syndrome, limiting beliefs, low self-esteem. I didn't feel like I had a voice. I didn't feel like I had value. I felt like no one cared about what I would say. And I had poverty and scarcity mindset. So I had like 8 things working against me. Plus I didn't want to do it. And I hated social media and I didn't like going on video. And I was a former introvert. So I had like 12 things, right? These are the 12 reasons that will hinder you from, starting and growing and launching a successful business. I had all those things. I don't recommend them, but I launched it by taking massive imperfect action and having that little tiny mustard seed of faith saying, I'm going to fail. Okay. That's not the way I would recommend on a podcast, but that was my mindset. Let me just try this to say and prove to the world that what I'm believing is true, that I'm not worth it, that I'm not valuable, that I have no voice. And then 30 days later, I did a $0 to $64,000 launch and then 100K in 100 days. So I was like, what a fluke. This must be like, I must have a horseshoe up my butt or something like that. And then $25 million in client revenue in less than 3 years and scaling a lot of companies. Like one of my clients, one-on-one client, she's going to put a video testimony this week. Alex Hormozy, everyone knows Alex Hormozy. She was his content marketing director, did all of his stuff to help scale Gym Launch to 10 million in less than 10 months by overseeing 23 media buyers. She came to me, amazing at what she does, copy, funnels, automation systems and paid ads, like the whole, 9 yards. And then she came to me, she says, but I have trouble selling my offer. I have trouble stacking my offer. I have trouble with pricing. I have trouble with these kinds of sales objections. And then one-on-one, I got on just a couple of calls with her. And then 30 days later, I know this is hard to believe because some of these numbers I'm throwing at you are just like, what? She's like, Jay, you just helped me make $152,000 in 30 days. And I've got $240,000 in the pipeline that I'm pretty confident I can close in the next 2 weeks.
That's amazing.
So I was like, how the heck did you do that?
So that's cool. So she had some. Did she have any imposter syndrome or any questions about her value, or did she know her value and just wasn't able to package it appropriately, or maybe a
It was
combination
worse.
of
It
those?
was
Okay,
worse than everything you're saying. Even though she could help others, and this is what I find with a lot of entrepreneurs is they're really good at like doing the work for others, but when it comes to talking about themselves, they just shut down. Paralysis by analysis, imposter syndrome, limiting beliefs, self-worth, scarcity mindset, value of what they bring. Cause I just signed on a renewal contract for a client that makes 250K a month. She's doing over 3 million. And she's like, do you think I can really do this? I'm like, what do you mean? Right. So a lot of the one-on-one coaching I do with her is like mindset, marriage, spirituality, fitness. She lost like 45 pounds in like 3 months.
Yeah.
So it's a holistic wellness.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. I want to touch on your glass method here really
Yes.
quick soon, but
Yeah.
before we get to that, I did want to sort of close the loop on, not sort of, let's close the loop on you from being brought in as a high ticket closer or tactically or strategically by these companies, you almost revamp their funnel, right? If I heard you correctly, you say, hey, we want to get people in the door. So let's make sure the front end of the funnel is bringing in the right people. So we have plenty of people to talk to, right? And then let's make sure that the offer is juicy and valuable. So we're going to revamp your offer. And then, am I missing anything? I think there's kind of a
Yeah. So,
third
so the
something there.
juicy offer, stacking the value,
Yes.
increasing the price by like one of my clients went from a $200 disc assessment, and we charged a $20,000 price. So I don't know what that is, but it's a lot more than 10, I think, 10x. And she closed 2 of those in like 45 days. So she made like 40, and then another one was not 20,000, it was 8,500. So she made like $48,500.
Yeah.
So it's about stacking the offer, increasing the value. It's a lot of mindset and sales psychology, like saying, what's the thing that's hindering you from, charging your worth? And then they'd be like, well, I had a grade 4 teacher that said, I'm never going to pass this grade. Or I had a grade 6 teacher that says, I'm never going to be able to speak in public. Or I had an uncle that, abused me, physically, sexually, like different things. Right. And I'm a pastor. So 10 years of service and counseling, marriage counseling, premarital counseling, one-on-one counseling, group coaching, all that stuff was a setup for the alley-oop to slam dunk on businesses. And I had no idea that guy was setting me up for this because I had no intention of leaving. Right.
Yeah. Anybody that's listening, we were just doing the visual of the alley-oop.
Yeah.
And the
I just throw it up
and
and then Mischa, all you got to do is just bring it down.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I meant to say, and I always do this, or not always, 95% of the time at the beginning. Hey, everybody, if you're liking what Jay is saying and you're liking what you're hearing, go to gosalesninja.com, gosalesninja.com, and follow along. And there's tons of great video testimonials and such on there. People talking about all the amazing work you've done. As a pastor, well, yeah, I'm going to ask this question. As a pastor, were you responsible to grow your flock, or did you take over somebody else's, the word is escaping me, congregation, or combination?
Both. My first pastorate position, I was hired as a worship pastor in English. That means the music director for the church. But I know I can speak Christianese sometimes. And then when I coach, soccer and volleyball, and also for my clients, I said the one word that we don't want to become fluent, or language that we do not want to become fluent, is whinies. So I try not to speak Christianese and I try to avoid whinies. And so I'm not Chinese, by the way, I'm Korean. So all that to say is that in the church, my first position was as a music director for the church. But what was lacking was the church growth. So when I went to Tyndale Seminary to do my MDiv, I did my master's in divinity in church leadership. One of the courses I took was in curriculum design. So they said, create a curriculum for something that needs help in the church, and they needed help with growth. So I'm like, I don't know anything about growth, so let me just do some research on growth. And I just took all the different models, case studies, books that you will. And I said, I'd like this. I don't like this. I just cut the fat out. I like getting to the meat and potatoes and cutting out all the fat so that I'm not saying something that's going to bore people to sleep. Right. And then I just kind of mashed everything together, recontextualized it and rewrote it. And then next, that church went from 100 to 850 in 3.5 years, from one church to 5 churches. So that was an example of me coming into an existing space. And then, I also became what's called a church planner, which basically means that you're starting churches. So I had helped start 10 of those in 10 years. So both end.
Yeah. And amazing. And so this is more too of maybe you're not the product facing that, what am I trying to say? You're not consumer facing, you're I'm speaking in sales language now.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. You are more of, hey, here's the plan that I've created. Let's implement this plan. And here's how you can grow a church. Here's how you can start a church or grow your congregation. Or yes?
Yeah. Everything was an experiment. It was just throwing up, noodles, spaghetti into the air. In the faith, it was like throwing up prayers into the air. And it was just a project, that I was like getting marks for. So I ended up winning what's called the Evangelism Award, which is, exponential growth in the church, using this project. We had over 2,500 people, trained, in, I think, 10 years. And then we had 40,000 conversations and 10,000 people, making professions of faith, which is like a life transformation. So it's a 25% close rate in the sales world with agnostics, satanic worshipers, witches, new age, like you name it, like people who didn't want to hear about God, people who hated God. And here I am, hey, let's be friends, doing things together, right? Like Forge, we would do games nights, we would do board games, we would do barbecues, we would do anything to build that relationship and bridge the gap between religion and bring the gap to relationship. And the same thing is with sales is like, what can we do to build rapport? What can we do to bridge the gap so that we can help them solve the problem that's keeping them up at night, which is sales, which is business growth, which is offer clarity, which is, pricing. And at the core of it is knowing your self-worth and increasing your mindset shift to believe that I'm worth it and I can do this.
Yeah, I love that. So good. And you were able to not only have that in yourself to bring people into the congregation, into the fold, away from the satanic worship to God.
Yeah. I didn't even know what I was doing, and I still don't know what I'm doing. I'm just looking my way every single day, brother.
Yeah, good. I love it. Hey, no, this is amazing. And then I think the powerful part, what's so powerful about what we're talking about right here is that in your pastorship days, if I'm saying that right, is that you are not only able to influence mind, bodies, souls with what you did, but then you were able to teach other congregations or pastors or whatever other how to do that. I think that's the key takeaway here. Yeah, go.
You're right. And I think the key to growth and scaling, exponential growth and scaling, is the ability to work yourself out of a job. And that's what SOPs are. That's what frameworks are. That's what building these systems and automations and AI is really key for. So as I was mentioning earlier before we went live was the podcast, like being able to book 200 people into my podcast. And I know you've done 700, so kudos to you. So I'm going to learn from you, the master, is how do I get other people to do this? Because I don't enjoy doing the administrative part. I don't like, doing the organizing and the coordination and the reminding and the setting up the stream links and the bios and the headshots and the GIFs and all that nitty gritty stuff. So I decided to put it into a Google Doc and I recorded videos so that I wouldn't have to do it again. And so my executive ops team did it last week. It was just implemented last week, and they did it flawlessly. And in the Slack channel, I said, how'd you guys do that? And they said, you gave us the SOP and we followed it step by step. And I'm like, I am shocked that that worked. So now that they can do it, and they're coming into my podcast and this afternoon, they're going to do everything from A to Z, and they're going to run it in the back end too. And then they're going to have the clips for social proof as well and send them to the podcast guests.
Yeah, it's so good. I love as solopreneurs or people growing, or if you want to work yourself out of a job and not be tied to your job, it is so important for us to have SOPs or standing operating procedures, or so you can say, here's how you can be me in effect. So I can go do the heavy thinking and you can execute on the things that we're developing.
And that's where you grow and scale businesses, is because a lot of us, including myself, are in this flight and fight mentality where I can't afford it. But Dan Martell, shout out to Dan Martell in Buy Back Your Time. Highly recommend that book. And Dan Sullivan's 10X is better than 2X is working to hire, not to grow your business, but to buy back your time, which will also do that. So the things that I hate doing, whether it's content creation, whether it's social media posting, whether it's outreach, whether it's podcast coordination, administration, whether it's fixing my funnels and my calendar links and all the above, which is everything that I don't enjoy doing. I outsource, do what you do best, outsource the rest. That's what Akbar Sheikh, my mentor, says. And so I've done that and I'm doing that, but it was out of like, that frugality and that poverty mindset as a pastor. Like, I can't afford that. But how could I not afford to do that? Because like you said, when you have the time to be able to think and just show up, then you can create, then you can operate, then you can grow, then you can scale. And that's why, you can just show up and coach, you can interview, you can be interviewed, which is what I know you do best as well, right?
Yeah, I love that. I just literally I have 10X is easier than 2X. I'm reading that now. And then Dan Martell's book, I just got it. I interviewed somebody who's growing this amazing commercial real estate course
Oh, wow.
biz. Yeah. And he's just crushing it and doing so good and really scaling his business right now. And
Amazing.
they teach people how to invest in commercial real estate, right? And
Incredible.
yeah, but he said, "Hey, get that Dan Martell book." And I was hoping that I wish I had it handy because I would proudly, because I'm in that point in my own business. I'm like,
Yeah.
I've got to start delegating. Like that's key. Delegate now. Delegate.
Oh,
Delegate. Delegate.
and I think that's why in ministry and as a pastor and preacher, I worked myself out of a job. So I train people, like I said, 2,500 people and all my church leaders. And we were able to start 10 of them. It's like 10 businesses and grow them. The first church, like I said, it mentioned, went from 100 to 850 plus. And then we went from one location to 5. So think of that, like 5 businesses in 3.5 years, and then 10 in 10 years. So, and then getting people in place, getting the SOPs, because we had to create SOPs. I don't even know they were called that at the time. We called it like leadership training or handbooks or playbooks or whatever. And then everyone had training on it. And then we would have weekly and monthly, training sessions and, connections and kind of accountability to make sure that people were following, what we would call SOPs today.
Yeah, so good. I love how you're bringing all of that experience into the entrepreneurial world. And also, obviously, just because it's such a big part of who you are, you're bringing that faith along with it.
Mm.
Whether it's straight on talking about God or
Mhm.
faith or those sorts of practices, or it's just subconsciously, or it's embedded in what you do. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people who are faith-based are what we call closet Christians. And their fear is that they're going to lose business or that their reputation is going to go down the drain. For me, I made a vow to God because I was in pastoral ministry and preaching for 10 years. And I was like returning items at the grocery store because I was so broke.
Yeah.
My 3 kids were like, why are you returning the Rice Krispies? And I said, they're not healthy for you anyways, right? But it was that fear of like getting that not enough funds in my like bank or my credit card. That was the fear. And so I lived with this poverty mindset. And then I made this vow to God, and it wasn't to become rich. It wasn't like, it was just like, can I help? Can you give me the gifting to help stop or end generational poverty so that we can fund passion projects that are near and dear to our hearts, to end, child trafficking, to give healthy water, to build orphanages and, support local missionaries who are doing good in this world. And so, we have one life to live on this earth, and, I want to leave a legacy. And I think I've sponsored over $300,000 of my coaching program in the last 2.5 years by giving, free scholarships to people in need. And so my goal and mission is coming from the why of my struggle. And I want to impact at least 1 million people or more with this.
I love it. Tell me about the transition from, I don't know if working is the right word, working in the pastoral zone or doing this in with churches being growing that, doing that to the entrepreneurship. What was that? Was there pain that made that happen? Was it you woke up and had an epiphany, or combination, or
Great question. So, it was out of sheer desperation because in my pastoral work, I was a missionary and I was raising my funds. So basically, a lot of what I did was donor support, meaning, hey, would you give to our ministry? Because my whole livelihood and salary for many years of my 10 years of ministry and pastoring was based on depending on other people to support me. Like when you fund, World Vision for children, they're 100% relying on you and me and people to give. That's what my life was for a decade. When I was doing this work and equipping and empowering and training and leaving these SOPs, all these different cities across, Canada. I was a regional evangelist for all of Canada, and I helped train churches and conferences in the United States. That's why there was 2,500 people trained. My regional director was like, hey, you're doing such a great job. Everything's growing and we have all the training in place. So unless you move to like a remote, city in the wilderness to be our residential evangelist, to grow, agriculture in a desert, do the impossible because you've been doing that over and over again. And I'm like, I don't feel called to, like Winnipeg and Edmonton. Like these are pretty northern provinces and cities, whatever, in Canada, where we called Winnipeg Winterpeg because it's like minus 40 degrees Celsius. It's freezing. And I'm like, unless I feel, God's calling me to like Hawaii or Arizona or Florida where I can golf, I'm not going to suffer for the Lord in that area. So anyway, so my ministry support raising, my money went down to almost zero. So now I was, trying to find ways to make money because I couldn't support my family. And living in Toronto, the average home is like $1.5 million for a 3-bedroom, 1,000 square foot house that needs to be rebuilt because it's 60 years old. There's a house on the corner that's renting for $14,000 a month around the corner from me, $14,000 just to rent a month. So it's very expensive to live in Toronto. So I did what I thought was the smartest thing to do. So I went and did a newspaper route for $100 a month. And I'm like, okay, how many times do I have to do this to make like $1,000 a month? Way too much. And I was towing my 3 kids in a wagon, and we were throwing the newspapers on the doorsteps, and we did it for months. And we're like, we're not getting there anywhere near to where we can we're going to have to go on food stamps or like sell our home and live on the streets. And so I came across this epiphany of like, I saw an ad of like, someone like you who's doing really well. And I messaged them on a video. And this is another way that you can generate a lot more leads and book calls and close more sales is video prospecting. So I teach video prospecting. We call it spear phishing, which is like you can hyper contextualize and personalize a targeted video message, which almost nobody's doing. Hey, Mischa, I see that you're on 750 podcasts. I know that you're in top 1.5% in the world, and you interview some of the greatest people on the planet Earth. I would love to come be your right-hand man and do the things that you hate doing, whether it's coordinating, whether it's administrating, whether it's, doing the emails, whether it's following up with people to make sure that they show up. And I'll be in the back end and I'll run the studio. I'll run the podcast. I'll learn everything that you are doing to help you succeed and do it better. And you don't need to pay me. So it was a Godfather irresistible offer. And then the guy's like, within like 40 minutes, he messaged me back, and then we got on a Zoom call, and he basically said, you got a lot of balls to be able to reach out to me because I'm not actually looking for someone and I'm not trying to hire someone, but you piqued my curiosity and I can't resist your offer. So, and I didn't realize he was in Toronto. So he asked me to come to his penthouse suite. And this guy was doing 50K a month. And I went and I said to my wife, if I don't come back in 8 hours, just put on my tombstone 2 words, loved much. Because I don't know if he's going to dismember me and throw me in Lake Ontario, because stuff like that happens sometimes, right? And I came back and 3 months later, I learned more in 3 months than I have in like 20 years.
That's awesome. So did you DM that, who was it? Or did you say who it was?
I couldn't tell you who it was,
Okay,
remember?
that's fine. Oh,
But
yes,
no,
yes,
it's okay.
yes.
But I did DM them with a video,
Yes. So you did your spear
a personal
fishing.
video.
Yeah,
Yeah.
personalized video, DM'd them.
And
Yes.
then they got back to me within like 30 or 40 minutes. And then we got on a Zoom call. He's like, who the heck are you?
I love it.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, I couldn't keep track of
That's okay.
who we're allowed to talk about and not
Yeah.
correctly, but that's okay. I do want to say I grew up in Jackson, Wyoming, and lived there into my early 20s. And Jackson, Wyoming, I went through some 60 below zero. This is Fahrenheit. I'm not sure what that translates to Celsius,
Whoa.
but 60 below zero days. I
Okay.
mean, it was cold.
60 below zero.
Yeah, Fahrenheit.
That's negative 51 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, that's cold, my friend.
That is like going to become an iceberg.
Yeah, and this is back
Popsicle.
this is back in the 70s and 80s. And back then, and I'm sure it's the same in Toronto. Is that where you said you are?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Toronto.
Yeah. So the older houses, nobody was insulating pipes, or nothing was
Mhm.
insulated. So we literally back in the day had to leave the water dripping when it got really cold so the pipes wouldn't freeze.
Yes.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Same with us, because we get to minus 40 in Toronto.
Yeah.
And
So
and then
sick.
today we're at 100 Fahrenheit. So
Oh my gosh. You get all the extremes. What a gift.
it's very extreme. Well, so you
Okay.
can really appreciate the 4 seasons for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So you DM this person and you say, "Hey, I love the example of you that you gave us how somebody could reach out to me, spearfish, DM, reach out to me, uh, uh, a personalized Godfather offer, and that person could learn and help and be a part of it and become an invaluable part of my team. So I almost have to pay them." Is that kind of what you were doing? You said, "Hey,
Yeah,
go
except
ahead."
I didn't ask them to pay me. So
Right.
they didn't pay me, because I mean, why would, if I'm offering them something for free, then why would they pay me? And then I think after 3 months, they saw the value that I had. And I was just like, hey, if you just gave me like, I don't know, $1,000, it was like nothing for the
Yes.
guy, because he was making 50. And then
Yes.
obviously with the increase in price, he was probably at like 100 pretty quickly, and
Yeah.
then 1 million. So like I didn't ask for much because I didn't know my worth.
Yes.
So I was asking way too low. And because, I was a pastor, I was barely making any money.
Well, I think what was powerful about what you said too was that, and this is what I was trying to say or confirm or reaffirm, was that you said, "Hey, I'll do this for you for free, and you will get an opportunity to learn from them." And I think that was what was powerful, right? You were like, "Hey, I want to learn from you, and I will. This is what I'll do for you for the opportunity to learn." And then, bam, it's a great synergy. A few months later, it's like, "Oh yeah, now I can get paid."
Yeah. So I didn't do it for the payment, but I just felt like,
No.
I'm doing this. Yeah. I'm doing this for 3 months, and I need to feed my kids. And so because I was continuously doing work every single day, going to his penthouse every single day,
Yes.
I would take the subway, I would take the bus, I would walk to the bus station. And every day, I wasn't sure if I was going to come home, but I mean, obviously he was fine and safe. Um, it was a very, it's like, I talked to a girl who is doing an MBA, and I asked her, how much was she paying for her MBA? It's a 5-year program. I thought they were like 3 to 4, but she was doing a 5-year program. I don't know, maybe it's a specialty program, and she was paying $100K a year. So that's $500,000.
Yeah.
Long story short, she said, I want to give you 3 key marketing tips for your business to help you grow, whatever. And we got in this call, and it was like textbook answers that were like 5 to 6 years old. Right. And that's the problem with schooling is, the lessons that they're learning are not field related and they're not grassroots because algorithms change even within a month. So I was just like, you're paying 100K a year to give me information that I've already done 5, 6 years ago that doesn't work today. Listen, you don't need to do that 5 or 6 years. You can just pay me 100K. I'll do it in 3 months for you,
Yeah.
right? I'll help you fast track your learning. All that to say is that, what we're teaching and learning, it's changing and evolving all the time. And, trying to keep on top of, AI systems and automations and even sales, the language that we use, people are even sales scripting are like, oh my gosh, I know what I'm going through because I just been on like 10 of these calls and they're going to ask me the same questions. So it's a matter of pattern interrupt. It's a matter of going off script. It's a matter of taking your sales hat off and saying, hey, if this was my brother, Misha, or my, friend, I'd be like, you might not be the best fit for us and our pricing may not work in your budget, but here's different ways, or I can refer you to someone else that can better serve you.
Yeah. It's great. Thank you for that. So you have graduated past the point of being brought in as a strategic high ticket closer. You're like, hey, this is not a valuable use of my time, and it's harder for me to bring value to a broader audience, perhaps. Is that the spot you're in now?
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I've come across I don't know, I think it's over 100 people that have asked me to close for them in the last year, as you can imagine. It's a lot. It's like every day, almost every day on a daily, whether it's several people a day. Hey, I heard you can close. Can you close for me? I just got asked another one, and the commissions are good. The lead flow is like more than they can handle. The good part of it is I'm not responsible for any fulfillment or delivery, which is part of when I'm doing my own business. There's a lot more variables. There's a lot more administration, bookkeeping, and obviously you got to fulfill to get them the results. Closing is a lot easier in some ways because when you get to a place of, competency and level, you can either do full-time or you can even, with some coaches, go 3/4 or even part-time. I was only working half-time and still closing, $350,000 a month, half-time. So I was like, I could probably close 1 million in about a month or two. So I'm at this place where people have been saying, hey, would you be my growth partner? I'll give you rev share because you're a genius at sales and scaling and systems and building a sales engine. And so some of them were offering me like, 15, 30 grand a month plus, rev share, right? To, which is, percentage on cash collected, which is like, it's pretty good. But I'm like, am I trading time for my money? Because if I'm going to scale my company to 50 to 100K months, if I'm doing 15 to 30, I'm still a slave to helping someone help build their dreams. And I don't mean slave as in like, it's better than my corporate 9 to 5 by 10 times, maybe 100 times. But, sometimes I've worked with some companies where I help them scale to $400,000 in 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks, sorry, 3.5 weeks. But then they're like, hey, we're paying you this much. Now you got to do this, like now you're like on a leash, right? So now my time is based on, this is what we contracted, but now they're expecting more because we're paying you so much. And that's outside of what we contracted. So when you're working for other people, a lot of times I find that the expectation is they want more, they want more, they want more because they say that we're paying you this much. So you should be working this hard or this much for us. And so I'm like, you know what? The money's good and the opportunity is really great, but I'm past that season where, I've had like even a dozen opportunities right now, similarly with these, great opportunities to grow and scale at the cost of my time and money. So I'd rather focus on mine and help other people and have control of my own future, if that makes sense, to create that freedom, retire my wife, golf a lot more and serve my church.
Yeah, so good. Again, everybody listening, watching, you can go to gosalesninja.com, gosalesninja.com, and see more about what Jay's up to. Was there other places you want me to point people to, or is that good? Is that your favorite spot
Yeah.
right now?
Yeah. I can put it in the, what's it? Let's see here. I have a masterclass that I give a complimentary guest pass. I think it's worth $497. I put in the Zoom chat and basically it runs Thursdays, which is tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's a 1 hour, Hour of Power masterclass where I teach sales psychology, offer creation, increasing your price, follow up, show up rates, increasing all that jazz. So I teach different lessons and I do Q&A. So that can be a complimentary pass for your audience. I sent it's a invite masterclass funnel for my sales psychology masterclass. So that can be a gift for them as well.
Fantastic. And everybody, I will put that in the show notes. The dub is a little bit long and it won't serve to say it all, but just know that you can click on the show notes and jump into that masterclass and have a free pass. And I've seen you live in action a couple times teaching, so I know it's very powerful and everybody should absolutely take advantage and jump into that. Quick, why don't you run down the glass selling method for me?
Yeah,
And
sure.
go. Yeah, go.
Okay. So is this going to be on video as well or just audio?
Going to be audio, but
Okay.
you never know. Well, actually, that's a lie because on Spotify, I finally 6 months or so ago, or a few months ago, started all the videos going up on Spotify. So anybody who's listening
wonderful.
on Spotify is going to see it. Yes.
Okay. So if you can give me screen share access,
Yes,
I find that it's more caught than taught, if that makes sense. And I'm a visual learner, as I mentioned earlier. And I like to give, some practical strategies and tactics that you can implement in your business. That has helped one of my clients make 21K in less than 1 week.
Yeah. Love it. You've got
Okay. Let me do a screen share. I want to be sensitive and respectful of your time. How much time do you have, or how much time would you like me to spend? I can cater it and customize it to what we have left.
I'd say we, between 15 and 20 minutes. If we're really just rocking and rolling and we need to keep going, we will. But I think let's work within that parameter of time.
Okay.
Is that enough?
So let me go. Yeah, absolutely. So let me do that as best as I can. So I have the stats to show it, and I feel like people need to see stuff. It's just that, sometimes people don't believe it because it's so hard to believe that, someone can close 100K in 10 days and $1 million in 12 weeks. Right. So I'm a numbers KPI guy. So people who can't see this may not understand, but I've been able to generate up to 81% close rates and 96% cash collected rates over here, 96%. And here's a couple
let me interrupt. When you say cash collected rates, that means of the people that show up, 96% are giving some sort of cash.
Yeah. So exactly. So let me see if I have so here. So if I closed in one day, $7,500, I collected not payment plans, but I collect the entire thing.
Okay.
So 100% of 7,500 is 7,500. A lot of people will take a deposit of like maybe $250 or a 12 pay at, let's say, $1,500 or $500. So then the cash collected was only 500 of 7,500. Yeah. And that would be a cash collected. Let me do the math here of only times 100. Give me a second.
Come on, Google.
100. 6.7% cash.
Got you. So if you're selling $100,000 offer and you're at a 95% cash collected rate, you're collecting $95,000 up front versus a 6. Yeah, cool. Versus if it was 6.
So I did 96.45% for 2 consecutive months. And then the month before that was only 73 or something like that.
Okay.
So yeah, so I have some proof showing you how I was able to close like 100K, 111K in 11 days. I just made it easier for 100K in 100 days because it looked better. Yeah. And then over here was $1 million, 1.013 million to be exact, in 12 weeks. Okay. And I only worked 3 to 4 hours. It was part-time or half-time for that matter. So some of you guys need to see that because, what's the point of being able to listen to me if I don't have the proof to show it, right? So the reverse glass selling method is an acronym that I use in all of my training, which is number 1, give first. Number 2, listen well. Number 3, ask open piercing questions. Number 4, sincerely handle objections up front. And number 5, last but not least, serve with humility. So being a pastor, I take all of my teachings from biblical frameworks, which means In the Bible, in 1 Peter 3:15, it says, always be prepared to give an answer for the reason for the hope you have, but do so with gentleness and respect. So one thing I teach all of my clients and my students is don't lose your emotion. Continue to serve people at the highest level, even if they're being jerks, right? Exit sweetly. Do so with gentleness and respect, because anytime you try to prove them wrong or right, you lose a sale and you burn bridges. I always try to exit sweetly. If someone is like going off on the rails, I would say, listen, just to respect your time and give you the gift back of time, I would love to say that we're not a good fit. And, thank you so much for your time. Right. And just,
Good.
A very, very difficult situation can be like, hey, you know what? You're wasting my time. I'm wasting your time. So let's give each other the gift of time. So on every call that I give it to them as if it's my paid client. Right. So I want to make sure I'm adding as much value to them, whether it's a free call or whether, people pay me a lot for even a half an hour call, right? Because they're getting so much value. So give first, give them, a small or big win. And so in your, chief influencing officer, let's say you've had, hey, get on a call to see how I can help you influence and impact and make income. There's the 3 I's, right? Influence, impact, and income, because everyone wants to be an influencer. Everyone wants to have a bigger impact and everyone wants more income. And I'm going to show you with the podcast CIO strategy with the 3 I method, how you can do that. I'm going to share with you how you can get on 50 podcasts in 100 days or whatever it was, right? I'm watching your stuff. Don't worry. And then we're going to get on a free influence call to see how we can help you get that influence, impact, and income. And then, so you get on a call with them for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, doesn't really matter. And say, where are you with your podcast? Oh, I'm starting out. I don't know where to, begin. So then you give them, a software or hardware stack, right? That's in a Canva or a PDF that you already have ready as a free gift. And then you say, here's the 3 steps to get started, right? So give first. And then people are like, wow, that was incredible. You gave me like stuff that I would need to pay for. So I know that you're giving for free here, and I can only imagine what I get for a fee. So I know we're not on this call to talk about the program if you have one, but I'm interested in what the chief influence officer has for your podcast mastermind. And you say, oh, thanks for asking. So you're selling without selling, because now people are asking you because you give first.
Love it. So good. Anybody that's listening to this needs to go to Spotify and watch this, because he is sharing his screen and he's giving you, Jay graciously are showing, you can, there's takeaways that you will get by staring at the screen or seeing this video is what I'm trying to say. Continue.
Yep. Yep. So like you said, that if you're doing $10,000 cash collected on 100,000, that's 10% cash collected. And I was doing 96% cash collected, which is $96,000 on 100, exactly what you were talking about. So that's just a visual to reinforce what does cash collected mean? What do close rates mean? Close rates, if you're closing at, my highest was 81%. I was closing 8 of 10 calls.
How exciting
which is a lot.
that? Oh my God.
Yeah,
Anybody watching, listening that, could you imagine, how would your life change if 8 out of 10 people were buying that you talked to that were interested in what you were selling were buying? I mean, I'm imagining anybody listening, they're upgrading their house, they're remodeling their house now, or sending their anyway.
Yes. And through all those things, I've been able to rebuild my house, send all 3 of my kids to Christian private school, buy 2 new cars. My next goal is to, retire my wife and get that private golf membership and buy my $10,000 guitar and my dream car and all those things. It's all on the vision board.
Yes,
so, but, and I don't want you guys to think this is the greedy pastor, right? I give radically. So enough said. So number 2 is listen well. Glass is give first. Number 2, listen well. We've lost the art of listening well, because a lot of times, and I'll say guilty as charged. Sometimes I'll be like listening only to pull my agenda aside and say, this is what I wanted to say. I'm just waiting for you to say it so I can be polite and let me say what I want to say. And even either closers or even coaches will be there just to kind of quote unquote close them and a means to an end. But we need to put them first always and help serve them to help them make the best decision that's best for them, not you. Because at the end of the day, that transaction, as much as you want it so badly, may only impact you for a short term, but when they come into your program and you lead first and you listen well and you give first, it can transform their lives for, generations.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. So that's listen well. Ask open piercing questions is the A. A lot of people are asking closed questions. I do a lot of sales audits, sales reviews, and live calls, coaching. And I was in a breakout room and I jump in and then the guy's like talking to this girl and he's like, so you on the fence or you going to join? What's the deal here? And I was like, holy smokes, that is like the sleaziest used car sales person. And this guy was a network marketer for 25 years and one of the top network marketing sales guys. And I just said, whoa, what's going on here? And you could see her kind of like her body language was like, backing up and she was getting all stiff. And I was just like, what is this? And so, the questions that answer in yes or no are things that are deal breakers or deal makers. So you have a 50% chance, whereas that's a high percentage of losing that conversation that you built so much rapport on. So why not ask open piercing questions that ask what, when, where, how, why? So Mischa, you mentioned that you want to scale, from $10,000 to $100,000 a month. Why do you want to do that? What do you hope to do with that, 10x income? Where do you want to go? Where you promised your wife a bucket list trip to which vacation? Paint that picture. Where is that? What is that home that you wanted to buy? What is that thing that you want to do with your kids who are in high school? Where is it that you wanted to go in life? How do you plan on getting there? Why are you wanting to do that now? So this stimulates an intellectual conversation that actually amplifies the pain. And when you can amplify the pain that says, ow, 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 ouch, 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 with the what, when, where, how, and why, and you bridge the solution by building rapport and trust and saying, I am bridging the gap by sharing with you that I am the solution, or my product or service or my coaching or my software is the solution to all the pain that you're facing. And when you ask open piercing questions, it moves the ball down the court that lays it up for the alley-oop to slam dunk. And then people typically go ahead.
Oh, no. I was going to say, I'd love that. Well, I want you to finish your thought and then I'll
go. Okay. I'll pause after that. And then people after will say, I said, what other questions have I not answered? And typically some people would say like, well, I think you've done a great job on clarifying what this offer is, what the support is, what the group coaching is. The only next, question that makes sense to me is how do I join? Or how much is it? Or do you have payment plans? So it's selling without selling because they're asking.
Love that too. And I think what's so powerful too about that is that anybody listening, watching, you might assume that when you ask that open-ended question of what, when, where, who, how, why, you are actually, and I'm imagining you have this experience all the time, you are helping that client, that potential client, actually internalize why they do want to do it, because they might not even know. They might just be in this pain state. And so to empower someone to put words to it is incredible.
Well said. And your sales is basically just leadership. You're helping facilitate the best decision that they want to make for their lives because they want to come out of the rut, and you're helping them overcome their unbelief.
So good. Hey, let's go. If we're done with what do we got? GLAD.
Red and the last two SS.
Yeah. Hold on. Let's go back to L. Oh, yeah. Let's go back.
You want to go back
first.
to L? I thought you.
I want to go back to L first because there was something that we missed that I saw and I glossed over it, and it was second box down. Change language from I closed 6 clients and $23,000. Talk to that little box right there.
Yeah. So what happens in coaching and high ticket sales, whether you're a closer, is like, this whole idea of closing people, right? And there is a reality and truth to that. Like I closed $32,000. I closed 6 clients, and it's almost like profit first and people second.
Mm.
And what I believe as a pastor is people first, profit follows, right? So maybe the case I would say, hey, with Jay's glass method, I closed 6 clients in 32K, and that's all true, but I try to reverse it and say, hey, I help 6 people find financial freedom, or I help 3 people, get back in relationship with their daughters or break out of poverty.
Mm.
Right. And so the importance of, there's a book called Profit First, which is really, really powerful. And the idea of people first to me is greater than profit, because profit will follow, because people are emotional buyers and they buy from people that they like.
Mm. So this Profit First book speaks to, it sounds like it's what's it it's not actually about profit first, it's about people first, and then the profits will come. This book you're
Yeah, Profit
referencing,
First
Profit
is a
First.
very different book. It's really much about systems. It's about accounting. It's about, making sure that you're profiting first and you're getting paid versus, working your tail off and not taking any profits. It's more of like, numbers and bookkeeping and accounting and making sure that your business has cash flow. The dark side of the Profit First is, I am doing like $100,000 a month and I'm closing, you know, thousands of clients, to the point where I talked to a sales director of a software company, 25 years. He just helped a company go from 4 million to 12 million ARR, annual recurring revenue, in like the last 12 to 18 months. He just got let go because they kept on moving the goalpost to unattainable quotas. And he says, this is the things I give for 25 years of service to helping grow and scale companies. He's sold $60 million in software sales. And he is burnt out. He's coming to me saying, I need to get into the high ticket sales because there's a lot less politics. There's a lot more money to be made in less time. And I just said, listen, it's hard in this place too. It's not as easy as you think it is. And I want to discourage him because I want to say it's a school of hard knocks. You have different politics in high ticket closing. There's politics here as well. You'll never escape that, but it's your position and your vantage point of how you deal with it. There may be different pros and cons. It's a matter of, are you okay with working in this space and in this culture?
Yeah, and I think as we get older, we have to be in a service mindset. That's what I have found, and leaning into that service mindset, because whenever I drift from that, what I do becomes very painful. So it's about holding that service mindset. So I love that. All
Well
right,
said.
let's rock on. Where are we? We did GLA. Now we're at next.
Yeah. So the last two is the SS after the ASS. Oh man, I just had to do that just for fun. And the sincerely handle objections, and let's not be that. Sincerely handle objections is a lot of people in the coaching space or the closing space, because I've audited and reviewed and coached a lot of people in the closing space and in the coaching space. And because it's their blood, sweat, and tears, especially if you're a coach and the founder, when they take an objection, like, I don't believe you, I don't trust you, I just got ripped off, how can I know that you're going to help me? I have some people lose their minds and their emotions and saying, do you know how much I've done to really build this business? I don't even want to talk to you. And they'd be like, leave me, F you, like get out of my face, stop wasting my time. And I'm like, guess what? That negative event was just curiosity. People just want to know why they should trust you. So instead of saying, I'm the best thing since sliced bread, if you don't want to believe in me, take a hike. I'd be like, hey, what was your situation? Yeah, let me share that. Thanks for asking. I just had two coaches that I hired. One was at 10K, one was at 25K. So I spent 35K over the last 18 months. And 18 months, I've gotten very little to no results because the coach that I hired isn't the coach that is actually coaching me. I got their coaches, the coaches' coaches. And so we're in a sea of like anywhere from 50 in one group to 250 people because they're the influencer, but I'm not actually getting the influencer. I'm getting the influencer's influencer. So I'm not actually getting the results that I'm looking for. And after you invited me to this podcast or this masterclass or this, whatever, this discovery call, I got more in 30 minutes than I have in 35K of spending over 18 months. So I definitely need to know what your program is. I don't know if I have the cash flow because I just burned 35K and I want to know if I can trust you. So I just walk them through a negative event and I look at it as a positive event saying, look, it's just a question. People are just curious. And if I can help you find understanding so that they feel understood, they feel heard, it's like relationships. It works amazing in marriages. It works really well in friendships and business partnerships. When people can be heard and understood, you have a lifetime customer or a lifetime partner, if that makes sense.
Good. Yeah. Love that. Yeah, continue on. I'm seeing good
Okay.
reply, bad reply. You kind of spoke to that a little bit, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So the last one is serving with humility. So I mentioned it in the beginning. I always try to imagine, like, if this is my brother, if this is my sister, if this is my mother, if this is my, best friend, how would I serve them without trying to manipulate the opportunity or take advantage? It's so easy in this space for many people to like, just, I'm really struggling with like, the price, or I'm really struggling because, you know, I'm not sure if I have the cash flow. I'm really struggling with trust. And then people are like, come on, don't waste my time. You came on this call because you saw that we were good. Right. And then just like kind of wrapping them around our finger is something that we can do. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. We might not be the best. So I try to deflate. It's like Aikido, right? Like someone comes in with like 100%, 100 miles an hour. Instead of banging them, like I coached soccer yesterday, one of my students, one of my, sorry, team, one of my soccer players went
Yes.
100% at 100%, and they both knocked each other out, right? He might have a concussion. And all he had to do was this, like I'm wearing red. It's like the bull, right? The total, right? All you got to do
Yeah.
is sidestep and say, listen, you're right. There's a lot of reasons why you wouldn't trust me. I get it. I understand that, you've been burned in the past. I don't know if I would trust me either. So let me try. How can I earn your trust? What would it take to take you from a 2 in terms of trust factor to a 5? Man, if you could show me a couple more case studies in my niche, that'd be great. Here, I got several in the SaaS space. Here's 5 or 10. Okay, what number are we at from 2 to 10? He goes, we're not even at a 5. We're at a 7. Okay, what would it take to get from a 7 to a 10? Would you be able to give me a 101 as a bonus if I signed up to help me get the traction that I need, because I've been wasting way too much time? I said, normally I charge, a gazillion dollars for that. But for you today, I feel like I can really help you. So I'll give that to you right now, whether you want it now or tomorrow. Let's open up your calendar. So I try to really help them because I love serving people. Right. And then taking ownership of fault. Like I remember one time I messed up something with someone, and they were like, here's the actual, the graphic or the message. And I turned them off in some way. And she said, it seems really inauthentic. And she didn't want to talk to me anymore. And I'm like, I don't know what I said or did. And she's like, no, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I'm busy. And so that was a burned bridge. And I was like, how do I salvage and redeem this relationship? Because she's not going to ever come into our program. She's not going to trust us. I've done a bad job somehow of burning this reputation, versus I'm not here to make a sale. So I acted fast, served with humility. And I said, listen, we need to get in a call because I need to clear the air so I can sleep at night. I'm not here to try to close you or sell you anything. Right. And I even put a voice memo saying, please get on the call with me. I don't feel good about this. Clearly I did something. So I did voice memos and a personalized call, personalized videos, like I mentioned earlier, game changers. And then she got on a call with me. And then she said, there's 3 things that you said and did. And I apologized for the first one. So I'm sorry the way I addressed this situation, and will you forgive me? And she's like, good, no worries. And then the second and third thing, she goes, no worries. You don't need to go through this. I'm like, no, it was so bad that you didn't want to talk to me. So let me address those 2 other ones. And I want to ask for your apology and forgiveness. And she heard me out, and she forgave me. And look at her say, I didn't even ask her for the sale. She said, hey, Jay, I'm on client calls, but I'm ready to purchase if you want to send me that info. I didn't even ask her for the sale. She said, if you are man enough to take responsibility for your fault and your shortcomings, then you redeemed yourself. And I believe in you and the coach and the business that you're representing. And I said, I felt really bad. I'm like, let me give you a 12 payment plan because I'm going to make this easy for you. She goes, I don't want the payment plan. She paid in full, $14,000.
Amazing. Love that.
So the recap is the glass method works. Give first, always add value. Give first. Listen well, listen to understand. I use a PPDD framework, which is the pain, problem, desire, and dreams. Take them from the pain to the problem, to the desires, to the dreams, from point A to point B. The better you can do that, the more you're going to be able to close and enroll more clients. A is asking open piercing questions that do not result in yes or no answers, but use what, when, where, how, and why. The S is sincerely handle objections to help find understanding so that people can enter into a space where they really understand how you can help solve the pain in their lives. And the last S is serve with humility. Take your sales hat off, put your servant leader's heart on, and always put them first.
It's beautiful. I wish I had an audio track right now of the crowd yelling, Yeah.
You should have like those buttons from the stream decks, right?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, this is so good, Jay. And I don't want to end here. I have a couple more questions for you. So if we can indulge me for another 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And everybody listening, watching, I bear with us, but it's so clear that you are really gifted at what you do. I mean, it's evident. Anybody listening, watching, like, wow, right? Where you came from, what you did, what you're doing now. And you said something at the beginning of the interview that I thought was very poignant. And it's like somebody's listening to this and going, man, I need Jay's help, but they probably wouldn't follow through, or someone may not follow through, right? And I'm thinking of that person, and I think you referenced one of the reasons someone might go, yeah, but this won't work for me, and is that person's ego, or they're like, I've worked so hard to get to where I am. How can you know more than me? Or I built this, and what struck me when you were talking about that, I don't know if you remember or not, but was that you've been gifted with this objective opinion to be able to look at somebody's process, model, offer, call it what you will, and objectively, without judgment, go, hey, here's a better way to do this. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I don't know. Did you have a question with that? Because I know you had many statements.
Yeah. Sorry, I tend to do that. I'm like, I've got a question, and then I'll do like this little riff. But
no, I love it. You had lots of great tidbits, and I just want to be able to make sure I answer them in the order.
Yeah, no. So I think what I'd like you to do is speak to that person who there's going to be a couple of reasons that people don't move forward with you. And one is going to be, what are those reasons? And I think I spoke to one of them was where the ego was like, man, I don't want Jay to look at my stuff and tell me what I'm doing wrong. Like it's going to hurt. Is that, does that make sense? Or can you speak
100%.
to that? Or, yeah.
100%. So there's a documentary on Netflix. I can't remember what it's called, but it was on We Are the World. Do you remember that song back in the day?
Yeah, like the mid 80s or something.
Yeah. And the thing was this, Quincy Jones was the producer of that. And as you know, they had a star-studded cast of people coming. There was some like awards night in Los Angeles or something. And there was only one night that they can capture them because they were all flying in. So he didn't have to pay extra to get them in. And no one was getting paid to even record that album. And, as you know, it was for the African famine relief. And, one thing that Quincy Jones put on that, the recording studio as he was bringing these people after the awards night, and they're tired and they're recording all night long, right? All night. That was Lionel Richie. Sorry.
On the 80s references, perhaps 70s.
Exactly.
Hang in there with
the people who are young, listen to some really good music, but, hold
on. And by the way, 80s, that means 1980s. That's what I mean when I say the 80s. Some people are going to be like, what do you mean? 80s? What's that?
Yeah. The best era of music.
Yeah.
So he put a sign at the door that said, leave your ego out the door. And so you had, Michael Jackson, you had, Cyndi Lauper, you had like the star-studded cast that came together, and they all came in like limousines. There was paparazzi. They, you name it. They have mansions. They got everything. And he says, listen, you guys are all, incredibly talented, but what we're doing is a bigger cause for world famine relief. And so, there's a thought of like, am I going to get the solo? Am I going to get the guitar lick? Am I going to get the, this part? But in that room, they said, you got to leave your ego at the door. And I think when you said, is this going to work for me, and why people wouldn't work for me, is we need to let our ego go out of the door. And whether I did it for a year and you've been doing it for 10, Um, you know, I'm learning from a lot of people who are younger than me, and people who are older than me that are, shorter in the business, if you will, because I did a video today and I said, I want to be agnostic to my preferences and I want to follow what's been working, whether it's KPI or numbers driven or data driven, or people are getting results in case studies. And I want to be agnostic, even for the rest of my life. And, as we grow older, you and I know that, the older we get, the more, set in our ways or stubborn we get because we become opinionated, we become jaded. I want to be like a childlike faith where I come into any room, whether I'm teaching or whether I'm the so-called expert, and I come as a first-time student. And so I'm here to learn from every single one of you. So leave your ego at the door. And the reason why it isn't going to work for you is because we need to leave our ego at the door and have that check and say, I can learn something today, whether I know more than that person. And you can take a gold nugget out of anything, even out of the rough, the diamond in the rough, even out of the crap, if you will, excuse my French. You can find the gold in the junk, right? If you have a different vantage point. So I'm always thinking like you can always grow. And if you're willing to grow and level up and you realize that when you invest in yourself, even to the point where it hurts, you automatically level up because you're paying a price and it actually hurts. It's inconvenient and your wallet or your credit card is feeling the money coming out. And because of that, you're going to value your time. You're going to value Mischa's time when you're paying him a gazillion dollars because now the timer is going and you got to make the most of that time because you're investing in, not in Mischa, but in yourself. So I want to encourage everyone who's listening to invest in yourself, with whichever coach who is getting the results and living the lifestyle and also getting the results for their clients, right? Some people are just making money off of teaching others how to teach others how to teach, and they are not doing it anymore, right? But in the trenches, actually doing it and getting the results. So yeah, if people can overcome their ego and their imposter syndrome and unbelief, you can really transform your life for 3 generations or more.
So good. In 1 minute or less, what are your biggest challenges today?
Focus. I have too many opportunities, which is a great problem to have. And as I mentioned before we were, recording, I've got all these different people who are offering a lot of opportunities and a lot of money that are very lucrative, but it's taking me off the mission. So I need to stay focused and learn. I used to be a yes person and a people pleaser. Now I'm kind of taking the vantage point of, I don't give a flying rip. Not that I don't care and not, I don't love or serve. I do. That's my underlying, foundation of life. But in order to fulfill the mission of reaching 1 million people, I need to focus on what God's called me to do. And I used to take Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and on the wall, and here's the ending line, is a black belt is a white belt that never quit.
So good. I'm gonna let that sink in for a minute.
Oh, and by the way, the We Are the World raised more than $60 million for African famine relief. So imagine when these people come together and within a very short time collaborate, the transformation that we can make. And that's the same thing with coaching. Is when you hire a coach, you can, go light years ahead of yourself by collapsing time and accelerating results.
So good. And that was the ultimate ego collection.
Oh, yes.
At the time, Michael Jackson. The who's who of people, like literally the biggest artists in the world.
In the world.
In the world. So powerful. Okay, I want to be super cognizant of time. So really quick, I want to hit stop right now. But knowing that we're going to hit stop, anything come to mind of like, oh, I wanted to say this, or any final thought, or that you'd be remiss if you didn't get a say before I hit stop?
Yeah. I think what Mischa is on, which is the podcast strategy, I'm finding that to be the secret weapon. Like I got like 200 people that are wanting to be on my podcast. And the reason why I have so many opportunities, joint ventures, collaborations, partnerships, growth opportunities is because of podcasting. So I would highly recommend that you follow Mischa. He is an expert. He is far ahead of me in the podcast world than I am. So I would highly recommend that you consider, investing time, following him, watching his content, and investing in yourself because it really, really works.
Amazing. Thank you for that, Jay. That is a beautiful place to hit stop.
Yeah. And you didn't even ask me before that. So that was a gift.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, perfect. I'm gonna hit stop and we'll say goodbye offline. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Table Rush Talk Show. For resources to help you sell your stuff, go to belove.media/resources. That's belove.media/resources. And be sure to subscribe, comment, 5-star, and share. Thank you again for listening.